Metro is a crucial part of Stepford's rail network, serving the city of Stepford, Benton, and Morganstown. But how did we get here? Before we start, we need some context. Metro, as an SCR operator, started operating in 1927, running steam trains on above-ground tracks between Stepford Victoria and Stepford East, stopping at City Hospital and Stepford Central. Financial Quarter didn't exist yet at the time. A year later, plans for a Southgate extension via Stepford University and another extension to Coxley Newtown were approved, and in 1929 work on these extensions began. Unfortunately though, for the Stepford Metro in 1930, the Great Depression arrived in the UK. The extensions were abandoned and Metro was battling to stay alive, but in 1931 it ran out of money and had to shut down, with a lot of its steam stock being moved to the GSR. This brings us to modern times. In 1992, Stepford was battling massive traffic congestion, and it needed more public transportation to solve the problem. As the Stepford bus network and Stepford Local on the Connect services were unable to take the extra passengers, a revival to the Stepford Metro was proposed. This resulted in the Greatest Stepford Metro Plan, which was composed in 1994, going from Stepford Victoria and Willowfield to Stepford UFC, Port Benton and Morganstown. This plan was approved 3 years later, and in 1998, bids were open for service running. In 1999, the Stepford Metro Company, known just as Metro, got selected to run metro services under the jurisdiction of Transport for Stepford. The Class 321 was selected to run the services. Construction on the Metro core began in 2000, except for High Street, because Connect was still refusing to give up its services to Stepford UFC. However, in 2002, they agreed to give up all of their Port Benton lines, except of course the one to Willowfield, because why not? In 2003, Metro officially came back, running services to Port Benton from Stepford Victoria, Stepford Central and St Helens Bridge. A year later, in 2004, construction of the underground core and four-way station was finished. In 2005, the Metro core, with four-way station as a part of it, opened, featuring new minimalistic tunnels on the Stepford Central, Stepford East and High Street. Also this year, Connect finally agreed to cede High Street and Whitefield Lido at the end of its contract in 2009. Additionally, due to increasing demand in the Coxley Newtown area, namely around the Barton shopping centre, the Barton Loop was approved. A year later, in 2006, work on the underground platforms at High Street began, causing heavy network disruptions in the core. Some services to Port Benton ran partly above ground, and four ways became limited service while the construction was ongoing. In Barton, tunnelling work commenced. Another year later, in 2007, work on High Street's underground platforms towards St Helens Bridge finished, and Metro resumed regular services, ending a year of massive disruptions. Work began on Stepford UFC's side's underground platforms and tracks. In 2008, the above-ground High Street was closed due to the need for general renovations in the whole area, disconnecting Stepford UFC from the network. Rail services from Woodhead Lane Depot started running between Whitefield and Whitefield Lido. Coxley Newtown and Barton were also approved and began construction. In 2009, the Great Depression extended High Street's closure by a year to 2010. However, there was a problem. Because Connect's contract had expired, and a new contract couldn't be negotiated with proper procedure in such a short time, Connect stopped serving Whitefield Lido, and temporary services were cut to Stepford UFC. A replacement bus line started running between Stepford East, High Street, Whitefield Lido and Stepford UFC. Finally, in 2010, High Street was opened back up in the underground. The upper station was dismantled and Connect restarted running past it, ending the temporary Whitefield line replacements and the replacement bus. The new High Street was added as a stop on all metro routes, featuring new underground platforms, a new entrance with a large bus stop, and a beautiful new ROC building featuring a new signalling desk for the underground core zone and new supervisor offices. Metro also took over services at Whitefield Lido and Stepford UFC, with Connect only running to Whitefield. The original Greater Stepford Metro plan was completed, except for Willowfield and Morganstown, with Connect contracts set to expire in 2012 and 2013 respectively. In 2011, major delays occurred on the Barton loop, but the tunnels were finally finished, with a stub pointing at Berrily for future expansion purposes. 1 year later, Metro took over most Stepford local services to Willowfield and Beachley, except for Beachley's airport route and Willowfield's line to Port Benton, because again, why not? In 2013, Metro took over all Connect services to Berrily and most Connect services to Morganstown, and Stepford Local was renamed to Airport Connect. The new increase in service frequency was welcomed, and Morganstown's residents were happy that they still had a semi-fast Connect service. In 2014, the Barton loop was finally finished, but Metro was still waiting on extra dusty bins for the line. The Barton loop finally opened in 2015, with a beautiful Coxley Newtown station and Barton station. Metro also ordered 20 The Zero City trains from Siemens to start replacing their 321s. In 2016, the year started normally for the railway, until in March, National Rail made the incredibly strange and frankly genius decision to grant Metro a permit to stop at Morganstown docks from 2018. This made waterline officials absolutely livid. Metro ordered new flirts from Stadler to cover the Morganstown docks line. In 2017, Waterline filed a lawsuit against Metro over the stopping permit. However, most likely due to lobbying, the lawsuit was quickly thrown out and it was swept under the rug. In 2018, Metro started running a service to Morganstown via Benton, with its first Class 756 units. Additionally, 20 Class 717 units arrived, resulting in the retirement of a total of 22 dusty bins. Some went to Connect, and some were scrapped. One of them, Unit 321005, is being kept for preservation. In 2019, large amounts of Metro units, labelled as Class 555 and Class 777, were ordered from Stadler, and the Southgate extension was once again proposed. The pandemic hit Stepford hard. During the pandemic, Metro had a reduced frequency and its train capacity was slashed by 95%, as passengers weren't allowed to stand at all, and they also weren't allowed to sit next to each other. Although barely anyone actually used the Metro because everyone was locked in their bloody houses. A year later, in 2021, these measures were reduced. The Southgate extension was approved the same year, but after opposition, it was denied shortly after. In 2022, National Rail once again goofed something up, as they approved Metro stopping at Greenslade and Whitney Green, and approved new funds for Network Rail for the purposes of new track construction. Waterline was finally ready to explode. Its Morganstown shuttle was already made nearly obsolete, and with Metro threatening to take away the entire suburban line, Waterline took action. They filed a lawsuit against multiple organisations, those being National Rail, Network Rail, Transport for Stepford, Metro, and for good measure the entire Stepford County Council. A court order soon stopped all work in the Greenslade area while the lawsuit was ongoing, and a year later, Metro's Class 777 units entered service. The lawsuit was finished with Waterline obviously winning, because they had an exclusivity agreement with National Rail until 2045. Metro was no longer cleared to operate at Greenslade and Whitney Green, with no red train ever seeing that line. National Rail also had to pay legal fees as well as an undisclosed amount in damages. Over the winter, the new Class 555s were deployed and the last dusty bins were sold to Connect or scrapped. In present day, Metro has restarted efforts to get the Southgate extension passed, however this is looking unlikely due to lack of demand. Metro has however accomplished its goals in fixing traffic issues in the Stepford area and revitalising Stepford's urban transport. That's it for this video. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe. I'll hopefully see you all soon. Goodbye.